Episode 40 of the podcast. Last week we talked about reinforcement. This week we're talking about punishment, punishers, and reducing unwanted behavior. Are these tools useful for us in grooming, in vet visits, and in home care? Find out this week. You're listening to the Creating Great Grooming Dogs podcast. I'm Chrissy Newmeyer-Smith. I'm a certified professional groomer, certified behavior consultant for canines, certified professional dog trainer, and the owner of Happy Critters in Nashua, New Hampshire. And this, my friends and colleagues, is where grooming and training meet. This week, we're going to discuss what it means to have a behavior punished. What exactly is punishment when you punish a behavior? When you punish a behavior, it means that that behavior is less likely to reoccur, it is stopped, it won't happen again, or it's less likely to have happen again. So, is that a useful tool for us in grooming and vet visits and home care? I'm going to start you off with an example today. So, if a dog is on your table and does something you do not like or you do not want to have continue and you say no, did you just punish the behavior? I want you to really think about that because many of us have a very simplified view of what punishment is. I didn't like that, so I'm expressing my displeasure or I gave him a reprimand. And is it that simple? And no, it's not, because we don't know if yelling no worked until the dog stops doing that. Because punishment is only a punishment if it reduces the behavior, much like reinforcement is only a reinforcer if it increases the behavior, the target behavior, the thing that we are working on specifically. So if we simply say no, or were to, jerk on a leash or something like that, if it does not reduce that behavior from coming up again, it was not punished. We simply expressed displeasure or, gave a yank of a leash or, it's not about how we feel. It's about how the behavior changes. So last week we talked about reinforcement and that we know if a behavior is being reinforced, it'll occur more often or it happens for longer bursts or duration. And the opposite of true is true of punishment. So it should happen less often. It should happen for shorter duration if it was truly punished. And that's really where I find a lot of people get stuck because they're thinking, I have to express that I am not happy with this. But not happy with something is different than a punishment. So when trainers talk about punishment, it means the behavior has been reduced or stopped, and it doesn't come back under the same circumstances again. And I want you to think about times when you've tried to discipline a dog, right? We'll use the term discipline, like when you're like, I am not putting up with this, I am very unpleased. Is that what you observed? Did the behavior decrease, lessen, or go away? Is that what you have observed? And in some cases, that could be true. But I want you to be thinking like a trainer and observing the behavior. What would be needed to reduce or stop a behavior? And I want us to think about that for a moment. What would we need to reduce or stop a behavior? We would need to be adding something. That's the positive in positive punishment. If we're looking at the 4 quadrants, right? There's positive reinforcement, positive punishment, negative punishment. We're adding something that a dog would dislike or want to avoid would be a punisher that would reduce a behavior. So it's actually positive punishment. Something added, algebraic positive, something added to reduce the behavior. And those kind of things are things that a dog would dislike or want to avoid. So let's talk about, does yelling no work as a punisher? And it would depend on the individual dog. So the only way to assess that would be to observe that behavior and see if it has reduced or stopped. So for many dogs, a sharp no has zero effect on the behavior because they hear it all the time at home, right? Like, that means nothing. Express your displeasure. I don't care, or it can make it worse. But we feel like we're taking action. Even if we're not seeing results, we feel like we're not letting them get away with something. We feel like this must be helping because I am telling this animal that I am not pleased, right? Um, and it could be removing something that the dog wanted. That would be negative punishment. Removing something. So that would be more like, hey, here's a cookie, but at the last moment the dog did something you didn't like. You're taking away the cookie. Too bad. Like, you missed your chance, bucko. Right? But I want you to think about why it can make it worse. Why punishment can make it worse, and really think about it, because the goal that I'm trying to set for all of us and for the dogs is to be calm, comfortable, and cooperative for grooming, vet visits, and home care. And we want to teach them to be calm, comfortable, and cooperative. So it doesn't serve us very well if we're adding something unpleasant to teach them to be calm, comfortable, and cooperative when part of their issue is that they find grooming to be unpleasant, vet visits to be unpleasant, right? We're not doing stuff to them to be mean, but the job is to do stuff to them, right? And that could be the owners needing to give ear medications or wipe off feet, or the groomer to trim something, or for the veterinarian to give a vaccine. We're doing stuff to them, and we need them to know we're not doing that to be mean, and that this is okay and it's safe. So to add something unpleasant or scary or angry totally falls apart when we're trying to teach them to trust us and we're trying to build something better. So why would we add anything that's unpleasant, stress, fear, or anger, or anxiety? Because it doesn't help. So it's not about making a judgment call about using punishment or not using punishment because punishment is mean. That is not what I'm going for at all. What I'm saying is punishment in this situation isn't what we're looking for. It's not a good choice. It's sort of like, all right, well, maybe your car's not running right. Do you need a new transmission right now? There are lots of things that could keep a car from running right. So maybe the transmission isn't the thing that we need to work on, right? No, it's no secret that I am a positive reinforcement trainer and I'm always trying to build behaviors, but it's not because I'm trying to vilify anyone who uses punishment. I want to make that really, really clear. I just want you to start thinking, this is the no-nonsense fast track. Like, yeah, why would I do something that makes it worse? Interesting, right? So when we're trying to build calm, comfortable, and cooperative, and if we're looking at the behavior in front of us and we're letting go of some of those labels, right? Because I think sometimes we turn to punishment and expressing our displeasure with the dog because we are seeing those labels, right? We're seeing stubborn, bossy, or a jerk, like we're seeing our labels to the behaviors. But when we back off a little bit and say, what behavior are we seeing? What do we see, hear, and feel? Is a dog that is uncomfortable, or a dog who is scared, or a dog who is confused? Not necessarily something that we would want to punish, right? So we'll talk more about that in the next part. If you're enjoying my podcast, please remember to subscribe so that you don't miss any episodes. If punishment is meant to reduce a behavior or get rid of a behavior, even if it is successful, now I want you to think, does the dog now know how to behave properly? Do they know what to expect from grooming? Are they feeling calm and safe? If they are now no longer lunging and biting, are they actually standing still and loose and letting us reposition them and touch them with tools? Right? So I want you to be thinking, have we built that trust with that person working on them? Have we achieved the 3 C's? Calm, comfortable, and cooperative? And the answer is no, because we still need to teach that. So when I talk about punishment being kind of a waste of time, it's because we still will have to teach them to be good, right? We still have to work on what we do want. And that's the fast track, and that's the no nonsense. So I'm going to give you an example, a workplace example that I find a lot of my customers understand. So even if it seems a little basic for trainers who are listening, I think it's important for us all to have some ways to express things to owners because it just makes life easier if we can also tell owners why we're not using a punishment. So imagine you have a job and you are working at a pizza place, right? And it's your first day and they're like, okay, just, we're going to have you answer the phones. So you pick up the phone, Joe Schmo's Pizza, what can I get for you? And someone says, no, knock it off. Right? Okay. Joe Schmo's Pizza. May I take your order? No, knock it off. That's enough of that. Like they're not giving you any clear information. And it's a job I would probably leave. There's only so much of that I would take before I would be like, why don't you just teach me how to answer the phone? Right? Because what we want, even as people, when someone is instructing us, is for that coworker or that supervisor to say, okay, before the phone rings, this is how we pick it up here. Hi, Joe's Pizza. How may I take your order? Right? Let's practice it. Practice it a few times before the phone rings. Okay, the next call you're picking up, and then coach you on how well you're doing. Right? That's how we want to learn things, and that's how our dogs like to learn things too. I know that sounds very anthropomorphic, but over the years, using lots and lots of different methods and lots of time spent with dogs, if we make it clear, this is what I want from you, they usually are willing to do it. So if we're spending the time saying, okay, you're on the table and I want you to be loose, and I'm going to touch you with things, and I'm going to turn on loud noises, and I want you to be calm for all of this, right? Not excited. It's not happy, happy peanut butter time. Right? It's because that's just as dangerous. We don't want to, nick dogs with tools. That's just as crazy. But we want them to be calm and comfortable and cooperative and work with us. We want to be able to reposition them. We want to be able to lift a leg, lift a tail, pull up a chin, move an ear. And we need to be able to help them understand that this is normal. This is what we're doing. And if we simply try to teach them, don't bite me, you jerk, right? We haven't effectively taught them the other things that they need to know. So I want to propose that this isn't about not using punishment for any wishy-washy reasons, even though I have plenty of wishy-washy reasons. But this is not a judgment call against people who use punishment. This is why positive reinforcement works better. And we talked about negative reinforcement too, like restoring pleasant. Something was unpleasant and it got a little bit unpleasant. We're like, hey, let's backtrack to some pleasant. Nice job, right? We're building the behaviors that we do want instead of trying to put out fires. Like, oh no, now he's doing this. Oh no, now he's doing that. Oh no, now he's doing this, right? How many different wrong ways could I pick up the phone at the pizza place? Plenty. I could pick up the phone wrong all day. And if you tell me I'm wrong constantly, for some individuals, that turns into, I no longer care how you feel about me picking up the phone. I'll pick it up any way I feel fit. If you have a big, strong opinion, you should tell me what you want. All right? I'm one of those stubborn jerks. I would be upset. So when we think about teaching exactly what we do want, coaching and building exactly what we do want, that has to happen anyway. That has to happen even if we used punishment. Right? So I want you to think the next time you feel the urge to punish, I want you to think, am I merely expressing the fact that I am not pleased with this? Have I done this before with this dog, and has it ever worked for us? Right? I want you to think like a trainer. Does it work or doesn't it? This behavior cropped up again today. Is it as bad as it usually is? Is it lessened than usual? Right? Sometimes I think we get caught in a loop of, well, I do this with this dog, and unless I yell at him, he doesn't knock it off. But the problem keeps coming back. So it wasn't effectively punished. It wasn't effectively reduced. It wasn't effectively diminished. And that's what's really key about punishment. Punishment isn't an emotion. It's an observable change in behavior. So if you are not seeing that change in behavior, start looking, right? Start thinking, am I trying to fix a label? Right? Do I have it in my head that this dog is stubborn or bossy or mean or a jerk or spoiled at home? And I'm trying to show him who's boss or tell him I'm not going to take any of his guff, right? And I feel for you. I've been there, right? I've been there. But think about, is that what I'm trying to do? And is it working? Did it work? How does it work? Would something else work better? Okay? Because I hear many people talking about how they work with difficult dogs. I hear it a lot. Like, oh, I work with difficult dogs all the time. In fact, some of them are like, oh, yeah, that's great that you're doing a podcast about that. I don't need to listen because I already do that, right? Which, all right, to me, let's go off on a tangent for a minute. To me, that's crazy. Like, somebody does the same things I do. I'm like, cool. How do you do it, right? Like, I want to know everything, right? Somebody has a podcast about the same thing, like, woohoo! Somebody writes a book about the same thing. This is great, right? But anyway, so I hear a lot of people saying they work with a lot of difficult dogs. And that's awesome. And, I feel that means that you have patience and compassion to work with situations that can be frustrating and dangerous. But what I really want for all of us, is to be able to say, I work with a lot of dogs who used to be difficult and are now pretty happy regulars. Because that's the big change. The dogs that used to be difficult. Not dogs that still are. Dogs that used to be difficult. Dogs that you have seen improvements on. Dogs that are now your happy little regulars. That's what I want for you. Because you know what? That was the big change in my own business. And that big change was huge. It's part of why I decided to become my own boss, so that I can do things the way that I really felt needed to be done. That I had this driving passion to also do some training on the grooming table, right? So to have dogs that used to be having a problem, who are now transitioned to just being pretty normal or totally normal, right? Sometimes I'm asking owners for a testimonial and they're like, the trims are lovely. I'm like, do you even remember that your dog was kicked out of all the grooming shops? Like, they totally forget. They're like, no, was he? Oh, yeah, that's right. He used to be pretty bad for this. I totally forgot. Because that's what I want for you. I want people who totally forgot. I want dogs to be able to work with you for a while, start to feel comfortable, build some skills, and then after the time spent teaching them, are perfectly normal dogs. They're going to be lived to be about 15, right? That's usually my goal. That's usually what I'm telling my customers. Like, this is an investment for being 15, right? There's a lot of grooming that's going to happen in their life, and we want them to be comfortable for it. And that is huge, because the change in your business and your day-to-day grooming and safety is huge. The change in the dogs, the levels of frustration for us as groomers or for veterinarians or for vet techs, the levels of frustration go down, because really your wild cards are new dogs. Your clientele have all been working on it and are at various stages of being totally normal or having a little bit of trouble that we're still working on, right? Your customers are happy because now they understand more about not only is it a common problem that we're working on, but that there's a solution and it directly affects them. Because if they have to give ear medication or eye medication or check a bloody toenail in the backyard, their dog understands how to be handled, right? This is worth every minute of effort. Okay, and I know I'm kind of overselling it, the positive reinforcement thing, but it's worth all that effort. And it is very, very different than teaching a dog that you're not going to put up with baloney, right? Because that, again, is expressing displeasure as if this dog is doing it to be mean or to respond to you, when really it's just a behavior that we're looking at. And if punishment, even if it does work, which it often does not, if it does reduce the behavior, it hasn't taught the good behavior. So take off half of the workload by just skipping the punishment. Skip it. That doesn't mean that we're always like, rainbows and flowers. Yay, everything's great. We're just off in happy land. But we're setting dogs up to get it right. We're keeping them out of trouble. right? We're not going to hold them down and force it. And we're teaching our customers that that's not really appropriate. That's not the job. No, we have a safety policy. And for new listeners, there's a safety policy. It's in the first episode. It's over and over again. But there's a safety policy. I'm not here to force your dog into trims and make their behavior worse. We need to be in that mindset that no, this behavior is important for us to address. So, groomers, I want you to think about safety policy and behavior problems as almost like matting. We don't do beautiful, gorgeous trims over mats. We have to address the mats. We don't do beautiful, gorgeous trims over behavior problems. For the same reason, it is not in our dog's best interest, and it's not in our customer's best interest, and the behavior problem is still going to be there, and we just aggravated it more, right? So we don't do perfect nail trims on dogs with health problems, or sometimes we can, but if a dog is super, super scared or something, right, most of us are like, okay, let's just do quick, right? We should be thinking the same thing for a behavior problem. Like, okay, I don't want to stress you out with this. Why does a dog need to have a heart condition before we worry about stressing them out? Or for a puppy, with a puppy, we're very, very aware of if we're stressing them out or not. We should be like that with all of the dogs. And we should be telling it to owners as if this is just the way we do business. And it's in their best interest, but treat it like mats. We don't do perfect trims over mats. We don't do perfect, beautiful trims over behavior problems, right? A car analogy. It's like painting over rust. The rust is still there. We're just painting over it, and it's not going to last. It's going to keep bubbling up. It's going to keep being a problem, and it's going to grow and grow, right? So I know that's a lot, but I wanted you to know a little bit about punishment and that it's not about making judgment calls about people using punishment or punishers or, the kind of people who would do that, right? That's not where I'm coming from at all. I'm coming from a point of view that says the behavior we want is calm, comfortable, and cooperative, and we want them to trust us and feel safe and let us do our job. And that is achieved through teaching them that everything is safe, everything is fine, and being patient and gentle and using rewards. The weekly action step this week is I want you to start being aware of times when you think you should express your displeasure to this animal. And to step back and look at the behavior instead of the perceived argument. Right? Is this dog arguing with you? Is this dog giving you a hard time? And instead look at the behavior and then think about how do I build the behavior I do want? But if you do catch yourself expressing your displeasure, I want you to think, did it reduce the behavior? Did it stop or reduce that behavior from happening again? And to figure out if the behavior was actually punished or if you simply felt better about your interaction when you thought a dog was fighting with you. Anyway, have a great week and stay curious. If you'd like to talk to me, you can find me through my grooming and training business, happycrittersdogtraining.com, my email, chrissy@happycritters.net, and through the Creating Great Grooming Dogs Facebook page. And we have these awesome devices in our pockets that allow us to do live video with each other. I can help you with the dog on your table. We can set up live lessons, and you may be surprised at how much we can get accomplished together via video. If you're ready to go beyond the podcast, and I hope you do, I've made it really easy for you. If you go to creatinggreatgroomingdogs.com and click on your next step, you'll see all of the options. There's the Scholar Lounge community, there's the Modern Grooming Professional certification, there's Master Canine Stylist and Professional Canine Stylist diploma testings, there's the Behavior Lab for coaching and private one-on-one sessions with me, and of course, the Master Groomer Behavior Specialist program. So go to creatinggreatgroomingdogs.com and click on your next step.